You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
The only station that matters.
That's right, folks. And away we go. I want to show you this picture before it gets too late because the CPU is going way out of whack. So, where the heck is it? iPhone. It's kind of enlarged. Looks like better on my phone than in that picture. But I'm drinking some hazelnut coffee this morning. So let's turn that off. Let's unplug that because it tends to cause problems. And I'll just show you the photo. Let's see if you can get. It's useless. Because there's no way in hell you're going to see this. Maybe a little. See that? Excuse me. Pardon me. 20% off hoodies. I see somebody bought something. I don't know if it was one of you folks or not. I put like the stuff you spray, you shake the can. It's like, I guess it is actually the dairy product, whipped cream. In my hazelnut coffee mixed with 100% Colombian coffee. I just found out that the Dollar Tree, and I don't know how they're going to make any money doing that. I don't know how this whole thing works. I think at some point, it has to do with the fees they charge. They want everyone to pay like eventually $99 a year to get this express service. But the delivery service. But the fact is, in a place like where I live, these places really aren't that far away. They're far away from me. Far away places with strange sounding names. Things that come to your mind.
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
They're far enough away from me because they're up some kind of hill or some kind of weird thing. But in the grand scheme of things, they're only like a couple of miles away, a mile or two or three away. Which means, but you just can't walk there. And they don't have like mass transportation to these like, I guess I've got into that in another edition of this show. That, there's this, in areas outside of major cities, there's this anti-mass transportation thing because they want to like keep everybody here. So the city council always votes against, like having, having the train go both ways. You have train lines that come here, but like I said, you can't do same day back and forth. Not even once. It's like nobody's asking for like a commuter train that runs every 15 minutes, but just like, can you leave in the morning and come back in the afternoon? Could you go shopping in the big city, so to speak, or have a day trip, right? No, they don't want you to leave. And it's the same with these stores. They don't want you even going, And the car dealerships, I've always had this theory. I mean, I have no evidence of it, but everywhere I went, it's the same thing, outside of major markets. That there's, and I've, the little bit of research I did do is I've found that in many cases, at least years ago, now it doesn't matter because, it's what's done is done, as I always say. But years ago, when I did look into it, I noticed that there always seemed to be somebody who was a car dealer who was somehow on, or somebody in their family was on a city council. And so when things would come up, things like, well, let's have, because the city councils is the one that like gives the franchise for like, deals with like things like cabs, transportation and things like that. Has to do with like what the cable or what internet company, cable company is going to be in the area. Those are the kind of decisions that city councils make. And, things about the sewer authority and, all that kind of stuff. And I believe our city council voted out fluoride in our water, which is one of the pluses about this area. But I'm assuming they still have kept it out. I've got filters on my stuff. But there always seemed to be somebody from a car dealership. And so a car dealership, the idea of being on the city council isn't because they were on some ego trip and wanted to be a politician. It's to make sure you're on there so that a vote comes up to allow bus service to the next town over, or, Uber, go cab companies wanting to operate within, or the train, when a train issue comes up about one extra stop. Train comes by, but it just keeps going by. Right? Just keeps going by. And to have a train stop or something like that, they vote it down. Anyway, so there's whipped cream in my mostly hazelnut / 100% Colombian coffee. And it tastes better. But it's like, now I realize, this is the kind of stuff that people go to Starbucks for, right? Like sweet stuff like that. That's why I have the handkerchief, to keep the mustache clean of that kind of thing. So let's just get the weekend weather. Let's get this out of the way. And we don't need Beal on there. So this is from today, which is November 6th. Let me just double check. Yeah, November 6th. Make sure we get the latest satellite image here. This would have been taken just a couple hours ago. So this is what it looks like. And as I had mentioned yesterday and predicted, those clouds that were in the southeast are working their way out to sea. So probably by tomorrow, the better part of the U.S., apart from the Northwest, the better part of the U.S. will be clear. And I know in this particular area here, where I am, it's currently 28 degrees outside. But today's supposed to be sunny, Sunday's supposed to be sunny, and Monday's supposed to be sunny. And then it's supposed to be like a partly cloudy, partly sunny, whatever, Tuesday and Wednesday. And Monday and Tuesday, it's supposed to break 60. So, today's going to be, it's going to get up to 50, too, maybe. In the sun, it'll probably feel much warmer. But overnight's 28 again. And Sunday night is 34. And don't forget, tomorrow night, not tonight, but tomorrow night you set the clocks back. And I'll remind you of that tomorrow's show. But Monday, it's going to be in the low 40s at night, which I think is more seasonable. So, still freaking cold, though. But I'm glad I don't have a picture of it, but I put the duct tape up. Weekend weather! That I talked about yesterday in the ceiling in my boudoir. And I got, as I was saying, the Dollar Tree now is on Instacart. And Instacart is that service. And I guess we might as well bring Beal back. He's mad as hell. I have the actual thing. Someone used it in a mix-up, mash-up, or something like that. Now, this makes no sense. This didn't come from the movie producers, production company, the writers, relatives of Patty Chayefsky, but some kids who did a video and include I'm mad as hell and not going to take it anymore. And I think that's the thing I got a warning from. Like the 3 strikes, you're out. Like I could play, I'd love to play this. I'm mad as hell and not going to take it anymore. I have the actual clip. I had to pull it and get it myself. It was a hassle. Get some of these sound effects. It's a hassle to make, because you literally have to get the film or show and go through it and then, record it and then, wave edit it, and then make sure your levels are right and then put it in and, and make sure it has a, cold start, and stop. So it's not a hassle, but I mean, it's work. And the idea that I could get a warning or some kind of thing, or potentially could lead to a strike, which means one strike, I think you're not allowed to do live broadcasting for a week, And then if you get 3 strikes, you're out, you're kicked off. So why would some kid who took some Patty Chayefsky thing, cause that kind of problem? And that's what happened. I get warnings and copyright strikes, but they don't turn into warnings, but they just eventually evaporate more or less. From my own songs, when I play, if I play more than 6 seconds or so of my own songs that I wrote, that I performed, that I've recorded, I've produced, that I have registered with BMI, music publishing company. The people who manage royalties for artists, and I still get a copyright strike on my own work. It's nuts. I mean, it's really gotten out of control. So anyway, I just thought I'd test it out yesterday because it's a Dollar Tree. Everything's $1 at the Dollar Tree. So I got some heavy duty duct tape because right here on my counter, you can't see it. Well, I have 2 mice, one for the sound effects computer that does this.
This is a nightmare. It must be a nightmare.
And the other one that I use to control the images and things on this computer here. And it was the way I have it, I found this perfect, it was actually a piece of some kind of binder or something. See, it's really hard, if you're not using, newfangled mice, these are older computers. So, I mean, these are literally the old-fashioned mice, right? And so you have to have if you really want to have a smooth transition, be able to move fast with your cursor, you have to have just the perfect mouse pad. And of course they don't, you could probably buy mouse pads still, but at one point everybody was giving out mouse pads. They were for free because companies were putting logos on them and were using them as promotional vehicles, etc. One thing about the sweetened coffee is that as it gets colder, I've noticed, see, I'm no coffee connoisseur, and I don't even know how much longer I'll be doing this. But anyway, that's still no reason for you not to get a ROCKFLUX mug. See, it matches the logo. I moved Freedom is Fun down to the guys, the fellas down by the ROCKFLUX logo from the Mystery Science Theater. That left side is kind of our television side. Yeah.
This is insane. This is insane.
I know, today's insane. The title of this show, and I have a thing I just posted. The title of this show is Flow of Consciousness, ROCKFLUX Live, 11/6/21, and the title card, which I might as well put up, is this show has nothing to do with Noel Coward or smoking. And I just put into the chat, Sir Noel Pierce Coward was an English playwright, composer, director, actor, and singer known for his wit, flamboyance, and, well, among other things. But this show has nothing to do with Noel Coward or smoking. We like to have fun here.
Really funny. Really funny. What do you mean I'm funny? It's funny,
Okay.
All right, enough of that kind of whatever the heck that was, interjection. So, flow of consciousness, what does that mean?
Quality, quantity, and variety.
ROCKFLUX.
Let's get this show on the road.
As I said, or may not have said, it's 5:10 a.m. The middle of my back is itchy. Don't you hate that? So that reminds me, whenever I do those, something like one of those, it reminds me of this song, one of my own songs. See if I don't get a hit on this one. I was only 6 seconds. See if we get by. I had to do those, and I don't think it matters how many times you do it, just as long as you don't go over that time limit. And I'll tell you, by the end of it, if you get that song's called Lost in the Night. It's a great dance tune, club tune. I don't know why it didn't make it bigger. I had a version of that, a club mix. No, the club mix was from this one was a club mix. That's when you get into the hundreds of beats per second or per minute type of things. That's like the club mixes. It's kind of like that weird stuff. Like, do you ever notice when there's some kind of movie and the moment they're in Europe or Germany, and a lot of time, and in gay bar, Euro gay bars, but I mean Euro club scene in general. They always have this music that's almost the same song. You ever notice that in movies and stuff? It's like, how insulting. You know what I mean? How insulting. And stereotyping. I mean, that's the only thing that's played in European clubs. I haven't been to Europe in a long time. In 40 years, not close to 40 years. Yeah, believe it or not. And it wasn't like that then. Of course, then they were, playing punk rock, stuff like that was still. Anyway, so.
Taking you back to the realms and depths of time.
So, I'm done with the news, man. I was going to post today's news, but it was they apparently passed some bill on they're trying to give Biden a victory. It's like, I hate when people cover for somebody, right? In other words, I don't like when people pile onto somebody, the way they have piled on to, they piled on to Trump and they piled on to, they pile on to people. I mean, calling a person out, I'm all for it. Right? Because I'm actually conflicted right now about this dentist thing, because I'm done my amoxicillin now, and I don't have an appointment until December 1st. And I hope the heck that this, whatever abscess that was, that potentially would be in the way, or they wouldn't want to pull it. I hope that I can stay healthy and, bacterial free up in that area. I probably shouldn't be having sweet stuff in my coffee, but I'll gargle after the show. But anyway, be that as it may, I'm conflicted whether or not to report that person. Because there are things you can do, and part of me says you should report them so that they don't victimize another person. Because personally, I was harmed by that. I spent $262, and I'm in worse shape than I was before I went to them. And I never got the tooth taken out, which was the sole purpose of me making an appointment. So I have to redo the appointment with another doctor who's more expensive, right? Even. And and there may even be a delay on that. So this thing that should have cost a couple of $100, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, I should have been healed and done by now, might drag on into, well into December, and I may be looking at $600-$700 or more in bills. So, the idea that some innocent old lady or some guy goes in there, similar problem, and gets the same treatment, and it basically means, there's some of these people that, I'm resourceful. I figure a way out usually, so one way or another. I'm also not too proud to beg, and not that I beg anybody, but I mean, I'll ask somebody. I say, hey, could you spot me some money, and I'll pay you back when I can, in a month or two. Or something like that. Or I'll look at my bills and I'll see, which one of these can I push off a month so I can. But there's some people that are so tight, in budget-wise, that, they make decisions, especially elderly people. And I noticed that when I was in there, it was like an older woman before me and there was an older woman after me. That some of those people, they make those decisions, food, prescription, dentist appointment, and they might not take their medicine or not buy some food or something weird. So I'm conflicted. Do I report this person, which could, who knows? She could lose her license for something like that. As I've had different people tell me, that there was about 3 or 4 violations, in that process that got me, that happened to me. But the other thing is, do I want to ruin somebody's life? But then again, how do you find the equal balance? So I almost forgot where I was, what I was trying to do,
And I want my favorite DJ to give everybody the word. Who's on the turntables tonight, my son?
It's your old buddy Tony, Wolfman, even though you're no longer with us.
Your papers, please.
I don't have any papers. I don't have any papers, man. I got no papers. I don't drive anymore. I have no license. Where'd they ask me? I had my furnace fixed. And they have these people, it's called like weatherization or something, because if you're retired, you can actually apply. And if, you're within a certain financial, below a certain threshold, you can they have these programs. But the paperwork is ridiculous. I had to sign and fill out something like a dozen papers or something. And he asked me for ID, And that was part of it, because they have to write down some ID number to make sure that it's the right person. And so I had to go dig out my passport, which even my passport's expired. I've had 2 passports over the years. But, my last passport expired a couple of years ago. Like, I don't know how much, just a few years ago. I have no intention of leaving the country anymore, so I have no intention of driving anymore, so I let my license expire. You know what I mean? I kind of regret that, because I didn't, it would have been nice to still have it to rent a car, because I didn't realize, where, I was looking at the time and I was seeing Uber and, Lyft, I used to watch the news and I was seeing these things like, everyone's making a big deal about it. So I'm thinking, oh my God, you got Uber and Lyft. Well, I'm not gonna, why worry about it? I'm certainly not gonna waste the money on a car, because that will only use once or twice a month. So that was for sure. I'm gonna pay car insurance, car maintenance fees, and all that stuff, and then worry about where I'm gonna park it and somebody breaking into it or something. But that was one thing. But the license thing, it's like, I don't need a license anymore. I mean, like I say, free down below in the lower left-hand side of the screen. Freedom is fun. And I figured, okay, fine. If I need a ride, I'll just do like they do in the movies, TV shows, and they're showing. I'll just, use the Lyft app. They were even sending me emails. Uber, $20 off your first Uber. Well, then you realize there's like no Uber drivers where I'm at. Or there was one guy in the last place where I lived, when I was renting before I bought this house. There was one guy. And so it was like a crapshoot, like I say, if so it wasn't like you could get it. And I can remember going to, different, being at a bar and trying to call even a cab or something to get, and it was like, you call a cab. I remember one time there were two, me and a friend of mine were at this bar, and, I wanted to get a cab ride home. We were there for a long time. I might have been DJing, so I was there for like from 7 till 2 or something. It was ridiculous. So, you're not driving. Called a cab and called back. It didn't, a half hour passes, called the cab company again. Well, I guess he's on his way. It's a busy night or something. He'll be there. Another half hour passes. Now it's an hour. The guy never showed. I forget how the heck we even got home. I think, somebody coming out of the bar or something we knew casually or something and said, hey, man, could you just give us a lift down the road, so we could at least be within walking distance of where we lived, because this bar was like an out of town. So it would have been a highway. You don't want to walk a highway at 2 a.m. So, yeah, that sucks, So that's why I use these like Instacart. And this gets back to this, me telling you that yesterday when I went on, because I originally was going to order some like cat litter and toilet paper and some of those big items that I can't carry myself, because there is a grocery store about a mile away, which I do go to frequent. It's my usual, that's my walk, my exercise. And the walk back is uphill, and I'm carrying a couple of bags, so it's like uphill climb with weight, weight in your arms. It's good exercise. So I don't mind that. But, paper towels, toilet paper, if you want, you're not going to buy one roll. I mean, you could buy one roll, but I use Charmin, and it only comes in these like 6 rolls equals 24, which is nonsense. It's 6 rolls, right? You ever see that? You ever see that on that? 9 rolls equals 36. Come on, man. There's 9 rolls of toilet paper. But sometimes that's all they have is like the 9-roll thing. It's like I'm walking up the street. They don't even have a bag big enough down there for it. And paper towels, sometimes they don't have the single roll. They'll have like a double roll. Or bottled water, forget that, 20 a case of bottled water, it'd be the only thing I could buy, hiking that up the hill. So these delivery services are great for that kind of stuff, and I'll probably do that next week. I'm due for like a bigger order on like maybe Monday. But I just thought, I noticed yesterday there was just some small things I needed. And so I saw new Dollar Tree. I'm thinking, how the heck can they make any money? I mean, everything's $1. So I put in an order, and I got this heavy duty duct tape, which usually they have crappy duct tape there, but it was a specific brand, that they had, which they probably make money on that because it was just one roll and it wasn't like a super thick roll. Right. I noticed they make stuff like that. Like you can get Glad trash bags, like 30-gallon trash bags there. But there's like for $1, but there's only 4 bags in the box. So you see what I mean? It's like they're making the money. But if you're desperate, you need a couple of trash bags. I mean, I only use one. Usually have one I'm one guy, so I have one trash bag, unless I'm doing like that roof when I had all this damage roof, attic stuff, and I would clean up. Unless I'm doing a major cleanup of some kind of thing, it's like my average once a week. I put out just a black trash bag. I don't have like a metal or a plastic garbage can, as they call it. So even $1 for 4, that's a month, so it's 25 cents a bag. And if you go to the big stores, you get like, I haven't done the math on it, but sometimes you'll get 20 bags, but they'll be like $7 or something like that. So it's almost, they're not that cheap. Because you don't want to buy, if you're like me, if you have a garbage can or something, and you're just putting it in it, that's different. But when I put my garbage out, it's just basically the plastic bag the black bag is out there on the street. So you don't want something that's going to split, open up, and some animal's going to claw into or whatever because it's so thin or whatever. So, you usually have to buy the, 4-ply or, whatever. Some of these bags you see, they're discounted bags and they're like 0.0 mils or something. I mean, they're not even 1 ply. You can almost see through them. Well, that's not going to hold if you're throwing out, if you had some canned goods or or some heavy items, that'll just break the bag. So anyway, I bought, this is just, the usual opening.
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
I'll just catch up on some stuff here. Yeah, so I just bought like some trash bags, duct tape. I got that hazelnut coffee. It said it's good for like 40 cups or something, which is ridiculous. But I just poured it I have a big coffee can, like not the thinner coffee cans, but actually a wider coffee can, about this big, I guess. I don't know. Of this 100% Colombian coffee that I had purchased from Aldi or something a little while back. And that was, that was about 2/3 filled. So I just poured this bag of hazelnut right in it. Because I did the same, like, if you're a fan of the show, I did the same back a month or so ago with some Kona coffee. I just added the Kona coffee to the Colombian to give it like a Kona mix. Kona Colombian mix. And it was good. And so like this, like I said, this is like a hazelnut Colombian coffee with a little bit of whipped cream on the top, which I normally wouldn't do. But I'll tell you, it's getting cold almost now, but because it has that whipped cream and the hazelnut to it, it's not as bad as if it was just plain coffee, cold coffee, This microphone has got to go, but until I get through this oral surgery and all this nonsense. Got to buy those hats, those teddy bears and stuff. Anyway, so I didn't put any the news was preposterous. The news was like, I was talking about the tangent I got on was with the dentist and not kicking somebody when they're down or elevating somebody, giving people undue credit. And so I noticed that Congress is seems to be proceeding with this Build Back Better, an infrastructure bill or something like that. It was vague. I'm not going to get into the minutia on it because, it's all screwed up. And besides, those bills, whatever the title of the bill is and whatever they say it is, it's not really, because, it's like when I say the Constitution giveth and the terms of service taketh away. It's like the title of the bill giveth and the amendments and the small print and the other little additives taketh away, right? So they call it something, Build Back Better, and it's actually, let's take that, it's like the Patriot Act. It's like, yeah, this is going to Patriot Act, but basically it's going to take away your rights, forever, right? So there was talk on that, and they were like, so Democrats, Biden gets, and it's like, no, he didn't. It wasn't a win for Biden because, this is, and again, I'm not kicking either way. I'm against people elevating somebody, or covering for somebody the same as I am for somebody who kicks somebody down, like the way they jumped on like Trump and people like that, like SNL type, in other words, that's childish schoolyard type of people that are the type of people that turn into assholes when they grow up, people you go to school with, people, bullies and people, they're no different than bullies or, jerks, that you knew in school. Now they're just grown up. It's like the guy, the British Prime Minister, he's so full of shit, that guy, right? He's like the classic liar. And you could imagine him in, when prep school or wherever he went to some thing in his little uniform and shorts and stuff. He was, anyway. Biden's original bill was like $3 trillion, was supposed to do this, that, the other. And eventually the thing they passed is still around $1 trillion, but he didn't get anything. And even AOC voted against it, right? So it's like, this isn't a win for the guy, And he was campaigning for these candidates around the country, particularly down in Virginia and stuff. And the people he supported lost. And the other ones were like close contested race. Like, I don't even trust that New Jersey thing. It looks to me like, they kept holding back. And it looked like it was 2020 election all over again, if you know what I mean. Right. Yeah. So it's like they managed to, like, in the midnight hour, get that one, squeeze that guy through. So yeah, he basically, he's not popular. He's lost all this stuff, and people are trying to elevate him. And I'm like, I'm doing neither. Just tell the truth. If the guy falls asleep, you report the story. The video's out there. Don't say, oh, he was napping, and this shows how hard he works and how such long hours he puts in. Well, haven't other presidents and other CEOs and stuff put in long hours? See what I mean? No, there's never a comeback. Even by the reporters that are like, like on the other side, so to speak. They don't really ask that, like there's no, do they have anything inside here? Any brain matter? It's bad enough I got my brain CT scan that says, scattered white matter, hypodensities likely representing small vessels, white matter, ischemic change, soft tissue lesions of the scalp with sebaceous cyst being most common. That's pretty scary. Osteoid osteoma on the right mastoid. I'm not looking for your sympathy. Hey, man, it's like I told my doctor last Wednesday when I had an appointment. I said, there's, if you believe in this simulations theory or deities or whatever, I said, somebody's playing a really cruel game with me, all these odd things. It's one thing after another. And when they talked, whenever, the doctors say, I've said this before, they say, well, that's really kind of rare what happened, but it's not necessarily life-threatening. It could be, but it's not necessarily. But it is really kind of rare. It's weird. It's like, it's a Steve Jobs thing, So I think they're trying to pull a Steve Jobs on me. I don't know. But I think we all should, I mentioned yesterday, I think we all ought to be afraid about what Rand Paul said in his discourse with that guy who I don't think you're allowed to mention his name. The guy who started this whole thing and who funded this whole shebang that we've been stuck in for 2.5 years, and it looks like no end in sight. But Rand Paul said something about another one that they had apparently been declassified that has a 15 to 30% mortality, which basically means if it happened here, it would be the end of the country for sure. You'd have 60 million deaths, 100,000 people, sick and stuff. I mean, it would just be the end. It would be like, this thing that we've had now, which, 99% of the people, didn't die from, or more, 99 point, whatever. No, this would be like, you're talking 20% of the population. You know what I mean? That would be like, boom. And if it was globally, you'd be looking at, in 8 billion people on the planet, you'd be looking at like a billion, if it was 10 billion people, 10% would be a billion, right? 20% would be 2 billion. So you take 8 billion, subtract from it, and you're looking at like 1.5 billion people dead. So we better hope that that's not the thing, and that Bill Gates in all his public speeches about population, too many people on the planet and all that stuff. We better hope that that's not their plan, especially now that we know Event 201 happened after the Communist Chinese. The U.S. intel agencies were already aware that this happened and was released. And so Event 201 was not a planning in case of, it was actually a thing. And they knew that, and that was held in the fall of 2019. I've said this before, but this needs to be stressed. That was held in the fall of 2019, which means at that juncture, if they wanted to stop this, they could have. They could have basically nipped it in the bud. So the point of the matter is, and why were there pharmaceutical companies participating in that event, in that conference? And now they're all making hundreds of billions of dollars on this thing. And there's no end in sight. And we're just entering cold season, and the weather, it's really cold out there, and people catch colds because they don't wear their hats and gloves. So my advice to you, and this isn't medical advice, it's just personal advice, temperature advice. Do what your mother said, and my mom used to say, wear your hat when you go outside when it's cold, and bundle up. And so what? You're hot. When I was walking up the street the other day, it was cold outside. It was still in the 30s, even though it was like early morning. I went down to pick up my other prescription. And I'm walking back, and I had like 3 layers on. And my up around here was like kind of, because, the layers, because I had a hoodie, a wool hat on, right? And then a vest, and then, of course, a shirt underneath that. And so that part of my body was really covered, and I was sweating. I was like feeling like, kind of sweat uncomfortable there. And I just flashed back to being a child and thinking, no, I'm not going to like unzip and walk up here and allow cold air to get into my chest and lungs and catch a cold or whatever. So I just stay bundled up. Wait till I came home to, come into a warm house and then disrobe. So,
I took a vow of peace. And now you want me to help you kill all these men?
Yes, Padre.
I'll see what I can do.
But anyway, so I saw this. So that was a long way of me saying that. That's why I didn't put the news up, because it was like, it was hypocrisy on top of hypocrisy. And they're trying to elevate him, like anything to give this guy a win. It's like, why? I understand. What does it matter if he's a win or a lose? Do you see what I mean? who cares? This isn't important. Yesterday's show was about quality of life. And that's still the same thing, right? It's about quality of life. It's not, it's not about, it has nothing to do with Noel Coward or smoking. I mean, right?
Really funny. Really funny. What do you mean I'm funny? It's funny, it's a good.
So, and the title of the show is Flow of Consciousness. But yeah, it was total hypocrisy. Total freaking hypocrisy. Like I say, it doesn't matter. Screw politics. It's not important. Your life is important. That's what you got to do, Anyway, so I was looking at this. I found this on, people make memes. I don't do it. I used to make memes. What if I told you the carbon they want to reduce is you? Yeah. You guys, we don't need you back here,
Okay.
Yeah, just you. So, yeah. What if the carbon they want to reduce is us? We're carbon-based life forms, right? Did you ever watch Star Trek? Oh, never let a good Star Trek reference go to waste, right? Hey, Scotty. We're carbon-based life forms, right? I've heard that on the show many a time, DC out. It's fun to be a geek. Freedom is fun. I'm being accosted by someone I'm related to who wants me to do these things, and I'm trying to convince them that freedom is fun and just decouple yourself and retire. I tell you. But yeah, we're a carbon-based life form. This is a carbon-based civilization. The trees require CO2, and we get our oxygen from that. The predominant gas, as I've said many times, in our atmosphere is what? Do you know? Right? What's the breakdown? Right? I bet you don't know. I'm going to show you something. Let's go to new window. What is our atmosphere made of? Okay. And I got to pull this up for you. So I have to do this display capture, turn it on. And then I have to go to properties. It's a hassle to do this. But here it is for you to see. So if you look, it says Earth's atmosphere is composed of about 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, 0.9% argon, and 0.1% other gases. Trace amounts of carbon dioxide, methane, water vapor, and neon are some of the other gases. All right. Did you get that? I have to read that again. See, this is the thing that people just don't get when they hear these people talk about this climate crisis. Look at Earth's atmosphere is composed of 78% nitrogen. So it's a nitrogen atmosphere, okay? 21% oxygen, 0.9% argon. No one ever even talks about argon, right? And 0.1% just other gases. This is Google, right? This isn't me. This is Google. And then trace amounts of carbon dioxide and methane, right? And what have they been pushing, right, at these events, right? 0.004 CO2 and methane, reducing methane. I mean, there you have it. I'm not, like I said, this is the true 30 frame. I always look down here to make sure I'm broadcasting or webcasting, whatever you want to call it, at 30 frames per second. This is the truth at 30 frames per second. Okay? And that's taken right from Google, So, you can't say I'm like making something up or doing something. Trace amounts of the rest. So what if I told you the carbon they want to reduce is you? Yeah, we're carbon-based organisms. We're carbon-based. This is a carbon-based life form. We have a carbon-based civilization. The planet's cooling, and, we require those carbon-based fuels. And this so-called, these infrastructure bills and stuff like that, and I know this is repetitive for people who watch this, the few people who watch this often. But the vehicles, the heavy equipment required to do any kind of infrastructure repairs or building or, whatever, require, carbon-based fuels, or what they call fossil fuels. But it's carbon-based fuels is the best way to refer to it, because there's an argument about that fossil thing, which I'm not going to get into, the fossil fuel, story. Colder than room temperature. So, yeah, what if I told you the carbon they want to reduce is you? I don't know who did this thing. I found this on one of my sites. It might have been at Locals. Some guy on Locals did it. But you know how, memes. Memes are for, to be viral. So I'm just supporting that guy's meme. But yeah, the sun, Beal. I just added him. I have to lower that, below, so I could put him on, but he won't be in our face. We just got hit by a couple CMEs this week, and fortunately there was very minor damage, so to speak, but it nonetheless, our star, it did heat up the magma, Now, I do believe La Palma is starting to calm down, So that's a good thing. But it's still spewing up a lot of ash, right? And there's still some magma coming down. But I mean, I think unless it's going to have some, reactivate and go, become a super volcano or something crazy like that. But that was a pretty long, that's reminiscent of Hawaii, which lasted pretty long too. But like I'm saying, there's been a lot of volcanic activity in recent years. I mean, very recent years, the last several years. And that's spewing that ash being spewed into the atmosphere, not to mention the poisonous gases like, sulfur dioxide, as I say, etc. That's cooling the planet on top of everything else. So, something to think about. Here's a grow room picture. Now, you may recall the other day I had this thing where I said, I was showing that I just showed these bottom ones. There was a separate one where I showed, the gnome at the top and those things. But, they're kind of growing. It's just that it's very cold on that porch. And I don't have a heat mat in there. Normally I have a heat mat, but that's still out in my greenhouse. I haven't cleaned up my backyard garden yet. At the very end of the yard, I have a compost pile. And next Monday and Tuesday, and it's going to be one or the other of those days, hopefully if I feel good, it's like one of those things. If I have the energy and I feel good. When it gets up to be 60 or something, I'll go out there with the garden gloves and the green jeans on. Mr. Green Jeans, do you know who he is? And I will, I need to tear out all the plants, they're all, done growing and, dying dead. And put them in this compost heap, get the shovel and rake and force them down and like pull everything up and then cover the whole garden area with cardboard. And then as I do that, I'm trying to think what that has to do with this photo. Oh, yeah, in my outdoor greenhouse, I'll disconnect I have a heat mat in there that I use in the fall. And I have to bring that in and clean that off outside, make sure there's no. See, you get these they call them fungus gnats. That sounds sick. But they're just outside, these things that get in the soil and stuff, which I have to write down. That's another thing I have to do. I have to get some fly paper. They still sell that stuff. And you know what? I screwed up because I could have I think the Dollar Tree sells that stuff. And I could have had that delivered to my house because it's hard I don't know if they can get it at the grocery store. But anyway, whenever you bring in, that's why they say you don't bring in outside plants into the house. Because there's, these things, these eggs, they get 400, hatchings. It's almost like as I say, it's like roach infestations and stuff. You see one, you might have 10 or 100, And so it's an ongoing battle. Once you get them, and then it's almost impossible to get rid of them. You literally have to fumigate. That's for the gnats. With roaches, if they get in your walls or something like that, you're screwed. And people who live in the major cities and in even in condos and stuff, they're constantly in New York City and stuff like that. Even in Florida, they call them June bugs and weird stuff like that, but they're roaches. And they're constantly in order, so just drilling in the walls and putting chemicals and stuff to keep those, to keep this population down almost monthly. In the high price buildings, I mean, they probably have a full-time guy or who's their exterminator, or they probably have some exterminator service. I'm sure those kind of contractors have cropped up in those cities. I have no idea. I don't care. I don't want to know. But I know I had them a couple of years ago, the fungus things, and I put fly paper in this closet in my, they never got into the house, but on this porch closet where I was using as a grow room, little mini grow room. That's what we're looking at on the screen right now, is this mini little closet grow room. And I have a little, one of those oil-based electric radiators in there. It's keeping the temperature on the porch to 50 and in there to 60, even though right now, and I could check here, it's 28 degrees outside. So it's doing a pretty good job. So I insulated the closet too. So if it's 60 and it's 28 outside, that's cool. But if we get down, I'm predicting, I think by the time we hit November or January, February, I think we're going to be seeing teens and single digits. And it was just a couple of years ago where we had below zero weather too, for a while. And I'm like I said, I'm mid-Atlantic states. This isn't I'm not in northern Pennsylvania, upstate New York, New England, or Great Lakes or anything like that. I'm down below that. So it's to have that type of temperatures, and people are talking climate crisis. And like I just showed you, it's the atmosphere is nitrogen, man. It's oxygen and argon, and there's trace elements of as the British say, methane, and there's only 0.004% CO2. Oh, man. And people just oh, yeah, we need to save the planet. Oh, yeah, save the planet from you, For crying out loud. I mean, the carbon they want to reduce is you. But anyway, the other day I said I failed. But as you can see, it's hard to make out here because of the lights and this photo. I just took this right before I ran right in right before I got on the air, so to speak. And you could see that the radishes are kind of, those leaves have gotten bigger. And it looks like this couple of leaves up there on the herbs by the gnome have gotten a little bit bigger. So they could almost be transplanted. But I did notice some stuff flying around. I put this subcaceous, I don't know, some kind of, it's this white powder that is safe for gardening, something sub-earth, earth, that insects on a molecular level almost, but not molecular, but like on a very microscopic level, it scratches them or something. So, but the 1 year, getting back to flypaper, that I did have a problem in there, I put 2 things of flypaper. If you don't know what flypaper is, it's some kind of sticky stuff. It's got some kind, must have some sweet thing on it, but it's so sticky. I mean, because even if you accidentally, hit your arm against it, it sticks to your arm, and then whatever's on there, it's like it's really hard to wash off. It's like it's super sticky. It's the ultimate sticky thing. And I guess like it's got something that attracts bugs, flies, anything. Because I have one in my garage, and every year I put one in there, and a fly or something that gets into my garage because I have a detached garage, and I leave that door open when I'm out in the sun because I'm in and out. I don't like open it. I have a security system there, so I don't want the alarm, the door thing going off and on and off and on and all. But, that thing will get filled up. And when I had 2 of them in this room when I had, these little gnat things. And those things were packed with them. So, yeah, I got to get the fly paper because I saw some. But they also say neem. Like neem is like a wonder thing. It's England or India. They have neem. India, somebody in India hearing the word England associated with that might set them off. That's a trigger word. The British are a trigger word for people in India. But, neem, they refer to the neem tree as like the local pharmacy because they use neem for everything, like it's in pharmaceuticals, gargle, to treat infections. But neem is also safe. People spray it on plants. And it kills those things or whatever. So I need to get that. I have a container of it, and I put some water in it and shook it up, and we're hoping there would be enough of it. And I sprayed it around that dirt and stuff. And oddly enough, these things seem to have taken off after that. So they may well have been like not growing because the roots were being eaten by these gnats. I don't know. But I know I've got to get some more neem, and I've got to get some fly paper, and I got to get on this case. See, usually by January, I mean, it's real early now, but by January, those herbs I had intended originally, and I'll transplant them. That's like parsley and oregano. And I have some, I showed you already, I have some kale. And I did have lettuce, and I ate a few, and I did eat some of it. But then it died off for some reason. I don't know why. I was really excited. I had a lettuce plant, but it started outside, but I must have done something wrong. I don't know what I did. But I want to try that again. I probably won't be able to do that till next year, or maybe when I bring in this heat thing, because I have good soil and stuff, fertilizer, and I have good seed starter, and I have, indoor potting soil, organic stuff and all that. But the idea is to be able to grow your greens and herbs indoors because I live half the year from what I grow outside, but it would be nice to be able to winter over, your carrots and potatoes and stuff that you harvest. I still have some potatoes in my refrigerator. And there's potatoes. When I go out there to clean out, I'm going to shovel. I'll probably come in with a half dozen or a dozen potatoes that I didn't pull out of the ground yet. And they usually stay pretty good in the ground. I once, one spring when I was digging to plant, early spring to plant, put in, potatoes or something, I found potatoes that had overwintered in the ground, and they didn't have like nubs or anything on them. They were just preserved. So I pulled them out. It was like a lot, and it was like a dozen or so I pulled out of the ground. They were fine. I just washed them off and ate them and made a potato salad and, used some in a stew or something. I told you this was going to be a flow of consciousness show.
Hey, it's me. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good, kind of today. Not ideal. I mean, I'm conscious of this, the place that I need the tooth taken out of, and like where they cleaned over here and shouldn't have. I think they kind of messed up like the gums there. That's why I say I'm conflicted about reporting this person. I don't want to ruin somebody's lifestyle, but then again, I don't think they have the right to ruin, it's not just me, but all these people's lives and get away with it. But I haven't done anything. That woman should have sent me a refund. And instead they ran to the bank and cashed the check like within the moment I wrote it. But anyway, that's my grow room, just to keep you updated on that. Now it's time for our music feature. And this is an album that, Humble Pie Performance, Rockin' the Fillmore. And there used to be the Fillmore East and the Fillmore West. And tomorrow's feature will be Allman Brothers, and I believe that was recorded live at the Fillmore too. And anyway, these albums, this is like when there were live albums that were better than, the records, right? It's like I said, if I did Steppenwolf live a couple of weeks ago. And it's a 2-album set, 2 record, 2 discs, whatever he is now. I don't know. But there's a version of Born to Be Wild. And like a lot of people think Born to Be Wild is a good song, right? Good driving song, right? Born to Be Wild, right? I'm sure there's bikers out there. It's a theme song. But when you listen to Born to Be Wild and it's played on the radio and people go, yeah, great tune, and turn it up, that the radio version, the song Born to Be Wild, the release, the single, whatever, is like nothing compared to the live version on Steppenwolf Live. I mean, if you like Born to Be Wild, this is about Humble Pie, but it's the same thing. You got to check it out, man. It's like kick ass. There's a guitar solo in there, and there's the whole side of the album just flows together like at a concert. When these old big rock concerts they used to have, the bands didn't just sit there, play this like a lot of times. Okay, this is this song, and then there's a break and applause or something or screaming, and then they, start into the next tune. No, this was the band that they're on stage and they're rocking and they're into this jam, and it goes on for a freaking half hour, 45 minutes. You wonder how their fingers aren't bleeding, from playing guitar the way they play. And Humble Pie is the same way. There's a song on there also called I think it's the whole side of one whole side of the disc. It's I Don't Need No Doctor. And that's a good tune too. And that's just like, so if you don't know Humble Pie, or if you've heard Humble Pie, all right, and of course it's a whole album, you need to explore and acquaint yourself with this record and listen to, turn up the volume. If you've got good speaker system, turn the speakers up loud. If you've got headphones, put it on and listen to the headphones, and like particularly like I Don't Need No Doctor towards like when they get back into the jam of it, you'll know what I'm saying because it like mellows out. It's just a long track, and it mellows out at a point, and then they decide to then they get back into it, and the crowd goes wild, and it's like, yeah, and it's a very simple song. It's basically I don't need no doctor. There's like a couple of little verses here and there, but I mean it's just repeated. That's the repetitive thing. Humble Pie performance, Rockin' the Fillmore. It's a great, great album. Highly recommended. And, don't know what else to say about it, but, And I didn't know, when I woke up this morning, I really didn't know what I was going to do and feature. And then, I don't know, somehow it just came to me. And then when I thought about Humble Pie, I go, I'm going to do Humble Pie. I Don't Need No Doctor. Maybe because I'm going through all this stuff, doctor came up or whatever. And then I thought, then a moment, then it opened up and said, well, tomorrow I'm definitely going to do, and we'll talk about the Allman Brothers live album. So that's it. Humble Pie performance, Rockin' the Fillmore. Request it from your, voice assistant or get it. I think you can get these CDs, or you can get these things for like, they're obscure now. So I think you can get them for like $9.95 or something like that. It's weird. So anyway, this show has nothing to do with Noel Coward or smoking. If you go back and look at all of my YouTube title cards, some of them are just, run of the mill. But I mean, most of them are like, they're classics. And people just don't do this kind of off the wall stuff. And that's what I'm trying to say. It's like, I am not a number. I am a free man. They don't really get into, fun. That's why I'm trying to say freedom is fun. Be free. Don't worry about this, What is this thing? The iPhone is disconnected. There is some mystery thing. You don't know what I'm talking about. Video capture device? That's me. Pardon me for being this weird. There is something on that is getting in the way. Okay. Let me just put this game over here. But what I was trying to say is that, people just don't enjoy themselves as much. And humor's like, that was like the whole thing about why I didn't put the news up. And I decided to put the here's the news, right? That the carbon they want to reduce is you, right? But because of the hypocrisy or the idea that even these news stations, and it's not even just limited to the cable stations or internet, people or, it's right down to the networks and the traditional newspapers and stuff. They're into this like, attacks, like character assassination is what it is. It's really what they're doing. And they just keep driving it and driving it and driving it, and they present it, and they're like when they do it, they're laughing and smirking, right? Well, when I grew up, those type of people, even if they were in, when you were in school, they were the truly despicable people. It was a detestable type of thing. It was like, disgusting, cruel, evil, rotten, right? Rotten to the core. People who did that kind of thing. I mean, that's how I grew up, and I still feel that way. You don't kick somebody when they're down, and it doesn't matter if you have an ideological difference with somebody or a political difference. Politics is meaningless. You neither raise them up, elevate them to some kind of cult status, nor should you, smirk and laugh and try to and get involved in his character assassination. But that's what's going on. And that's the news, right? That's politics. And that's why I have no interest in TV whatsoever. And what kind of person does that? What kind of person does that? Makes no sense. It's not good. Right? See, I'm not pushing for some fairy tale world, Quite the contrary, I mean, I say I've got foul mouth on these shows sometimes, and and all that stuff. I'm not, I call things out, that need to be called out. But I'm not getting into some kind of, I don't get a kick out of some kind of craziness, and making fun of people. There's a difference between criticism, legitimate criticism of somebody who does something wrong, right, and stating your case, and just smirking and trying, and then and repeating lies and weird stuff. It's like yesterday's news, about that stupid dossier. It's like there's still 5.5 years later or more, they're still like, even though that's, they're still like, I don't watch TV, but I bet there were people, even though now that there's been so much documentation that the whole thing was fake and these a couple of people arrested already and all this kind of stuff. There's probably still people doing some kind of justification and saying this is that, the other, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, give it up. Who cares? What does it have to do with the quality of life? Your quality of life or somebody else's quality of life? We got other things to worry about around here. Right? We go back to a time when Noel Coward, was there. Classic era. When Beale over there was, when Network, watch that, watch that movie or read the book by Patty Chayefsky. I mean, people just, they don't get it. They don't know any better because this generation, and like I say, if you were born 40 years ago, that's like 1981. Well, by then, we were already, things were already starting to fall apart. So these people don't even understand. They have no knowledge of what came before them and what happened or this country. And not to get into the whole, into the, the far out stuff, but it's like I was talked on one of the shows. But it is a flow of consciousness, so why not? Why not
It's an excursion into the odd and into the very, very different.
You're now in a different continuum than the world. You're now in a different continuum than the world you're.
It doesn't want to stop. Forgot about that one. It's looped. But it's that you don't know. When I say you don't know what you don't know, you could take that on surface value. You don't know what you don't know. I mean, that it's common sense, but at the same time, it's profound, right? And everything you know is wrong is harder for people to stomach and to accept. But the fact of the matter is, and this is just like the game over thing, you know, people are like, no, we're going to just save it. Look we just won the governor's race. You know, politics is not the solution. All right. You know, you could have these little victories and little things, but it doesn't mean anything. It's like sports. Your team can win the playoffs and win the Super Bowl, but next year they got to start all over again. It's like, it's just a repetitive thing. Right? So if you want to play the game, and that's how I look, that's the thing that the unsuspecting public out here doesn't realize, is that for the media, it's their job to play the game. Politicians are playing the game because it's their job, it's their income. They make millions of dollars at it. Both the media and the politicians make multi-million dollars, right? You know, the ruling elite, insider trading and all that. You know, they have lavish lifestyles. And the same with all these national media personalities. They're wealthy people, right? Wealthy people. So to them, it's like sports. It's just like sports. And sports players are wealthy people. It's like that weird guy, Copernicus, or, you know, whatever his name is, the guy with the weird afro thought he was going to make the team because he got a sponsorship and he just still didn't make the team, get back on the team or something. And he was trying to say that NFL players is like slavery or something. Well, I'll tell you what, if I were young enough to play on the NFL, I played football when I was younger. If I were young enough to try out for the NFL and make it on a team and got paid $1 million, just $1 million, not these superstar players, right? I would hardly consider that slavery, considering, you know. And, you know, people look at that and they go, yeah, he's right. You know, he's right. Yeah, take a knee. You know, I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me. So, yeah, sports personalities, these are millionaires. Sports announcers, millionaires. Political announcers, talking heads on TV, they're multimillionaires. Politicians, they're multimillionaires. And that's what it is. There's no difference between sports and politics. It's all a big game. And these people are caught up in it. And you're out here and you're watching this and you're thinking, you don't understand that it's a game. And it's just their job. Right? They're just trying to hold on to their millions of dollar salaries. And yet you're getting all worked up and mental over it and like not going to go to Thanksgiving because you don't want to sit with your, you know, left, you know, your liberal or conservative family members, or you're going to get into an argument with your relatives or divorced from your, you know, your wife or husband. Right? Your kids are coming home with some kind of statement and there's argument and they're slamming their door to their room, right? Over something that's a job of somebody on TV whose job is to agitate, right? Because they're just selling, because it's commercials. They're just trying to keep people tuned in, and the politicians just want to keep their job. They make their millions of dollars. They don't want to go back to just living. Congressmen don't want to go back to just living in some small town, right? And have to get a job as a car salesman. You know what I mean? Or open up a used car lot or something weird like that. So these, when a congressman, goes back home, there's somebody that'll hire them because they have some, the name recognition and fame, and that's what they end up being. Or they end up being like a lot of these people in government, they end up being, get hired by TV shows, right? Former congressman, former general, former, right, whatever, intelligence chief, and they become consultants, and they opine, are called in, on these discussions about things. But it's sports. That's all it is. Sports. And it's cyclical, and it's repetitive, right? And in the grand scheme of things, over the long term, things get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And they get richer, 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 richer. And you get poorer, 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 or your quality of life sinks. And why people can't see that, I don't know. And so you have playwrights like Noel Coward, the show's not about Noel Coward, who, in an era when people used to write about that stuff, or you have like Patty Chayefsky from Network, I'm mad as hell, I'm not going to take it anymore. And the inside absurdity of, that of the inside of the news business. I mean, it was surreal, but in effect, a lot of that stuff came true, and that's from the 60s, right? Same with like Marshall McLuhan and all of these people, that's the problem. Like I say, with people in their 40s and 50s running things now, which are considered middle-aged people, that they weren't around. They don't know what happened in the 60s or the 70s. They weren't cognizant of that, right? So that they know nothing about the civil rights movement. They didn't know that it was successful. They know nothing about the feminist movement, that it was successful, that the glass ceiling's definitely been broken a long time ago. They know nothing about all these people who put out these warnings about, the media. That's why I brought up McLuhan and Patty Chayefsky, right? They don't know any of that stuff. And they don't know the events of the era. They don't really understand, the dirty politics involved in the Vietnam War and stuff like that, and the military industrial complex and Eisenhower, there's people that still don't believe that. I've watched it on my show there's nobody watching right now live, but when I say military industrial complex, I will actually see a viewer, they'll leave, because there's still people that don't know. I mean, I could play the thing, and I play it all the time, Eisenhower saying that, but there's still people that think that's some kind of conspiracy theory, military industrial complex. It's like, you got to be kidding me. It's all about profit. It's the same as people when you say big pharma. Like, people don't understand that these people are making hundreds of billions of dollars on this thing. And that's why we should be afraid, because the profit motive is scary. Iced coffee. Impossibility. An impossibility from physics. So, yeah, it's crazy. So, you have to, you got to wake up to that reality, and just, like I say, freedom is fun. Disconnect. Turn on, cancel your cable or satellite service. Don't watch the news. The heck with Twitter. Facebook, forget that. But I mean, if it's your only way to keep in touch with your family, whatever. I post this stuff on Facebook. I've been messing around with this Instagram thing because I'm trying to figure out how to sell shirts and stuff. You know what I mean? Trying to sell this swag. Because I believe in this stuff. It's not a profit motive because I don't make like money on, like, I don't own these companies. I'm not making these shirts myself. It's a third, in other words, I'm having them made. So my commission is like, it's weird. I make like 50 cents maybe if I'm lucky on something. It depends on what the thing costs. So it's not a money-making thing. It's like my songs, my shows, right? My books. Because I don't even make money on my books. It's only like $1, depending on what you get. I mean, if somebody buys a digital version of it, I'm lucky if I get a quarter or something, I think. Or not even. If you buy the print version, I'm selling my latest book for like $9.95. I'll probably make $1 if I'm lucky. $1 something. I don't know what it is. But, I'm doing these so for people to inform people and to put this stuff out there. And I think these shirts and I think hoodies with these phrases and sayings and stuff. And I like this idea of these teddy bears that I had on yesterday. I think this is a great way to communicate and to make people think. That's all I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get people to think. You think and make your own decisions for yourself. Like I say, it's like, they're provocative, or thought-provoking, at the very least. So that's what it's all about. And so it's not a money-making venture. It's not some profit thing. And like I say, if you saw a commercial on this, I didn't make any money on it. That's YouTube. And it's so ridiculous. I've heard people say, yeah, I've seen a commercial on your show. And I'm thinking, they're throttling me. They're only letting like X amount of people even have access to this show, right? Because it's not listed. Because otherwise, randomly, right? It's a Saturday over in England. Noel Coward, is a British. Was British. He's long gone. But, so over in Britain, it's already, 11 o'clock, 11:30 or something like that. I don't know. Around that time. So people been up. There's nobody clicking because this isn't available to them. It's throttled and it's hidden. It's not on the live list or something. Right? So it's sad, So unless somebody shares this, or randomly discovers it, sometimes there's a thing, people who have watched this have seen this, and unless some odd thing like that happens, and somebody's turned on to it, I get 3 viewers. Yesterday I got 5 or 6 viewers. I don't know. I mean, sometimes I get 11, 9. But, a lot of times 3. That's ridiculous. But it doesn't lessen the fact that I still put these title cards and these shows out onto various social media, and there's exposure to a wider audience. It's just a matter of how many people are watching the thing. And I'm not sure that, I think some people watch portions of it. So, but I don't think YouTube counts that. See, they want to see the whole thing. It's like when you're on Netflix or something, when they say, here's what's trending, here's what's popular. See, they don't want to list. That's another game they play with their algorithms and stuff. They don't basically, I've actually literally watched, because that's what I can see right now, my analytics live, because I see, that's how I know I'm on the air, and I have an excellent connection, and it says stream settings, analytics, stream health. that kind of nonsense. And I've actually in real time watched the playback numbers go up, and then I've watched them go down. You see, been in real time. You know, like even at the very start of like a show 2 days ago, there were like 2 playbacks, and then suddenly it went to 1. Right? And I'm like, what? I literally watched it happen. And I've seen that often. I've seen the numbers go down. I've seen like because I'll go upstairs and I'll watch this. I'll watch the playback of these shows because it's content. I like it. I get a kick out of myself. And sometimes these things, especially the flow of consciousness shows, because I don't know, it's unscripted, and it's kind of comical, watch how my mind works, right? And it's a very unique show, that's for sure. I mean, there's a lot of people who do this performance, right? It's what it is, in a sense. I mean, you write books, you write songs, you do these shows, right? So it's all, it's all some sort of, creative force that that drives you to do these kinds of things. Otherwise everybody would be doing it, right? So, this is work. This is some kind of creation of and it's interesting to watch what's created out of nothing. I just came down here, had an idea, featured a song, ended up with this ridiculous idea, picture of Noel Coward. Brought back the Mr. Beale. And that's, and that's it. So it's like, good morning. It's just something to do. I enjoy it as much as the few people who watch it enjoy it. And I think in each show there's always something that's somewhat enlightening or interesting. Like I wonder how many people really know about the content of the atmosphere, right? Who've actually, who've seen that, and yet that's such a big issue today. And the very thing they talk about, even on Google still hasn't taken that down. It's like that's the first thing that comes up when you search it. They refer to these things that they've got out as like the big, the worst things in the world as traces of these gases. Well, as far as I know, something that's like just a trace of it in the atmosphere, no way in hell is that's going to signal, Armageddon, the way it's been presented by, these people at these conferences, right? Especially when those trace elements coincidentally are also things that plants, trees, right, crops require, right, for their existence, which in turn give us the oxygen and the food we need to sustain ourselves. So they have that, so in other words, these are trace gases, they're also instrumental in maintaining life on the planet Earth. So, to demonize something like 0.004 CO2 is utter insanity and defies all logic. It just defies logic, right? Instead, they should be going after polluters, and things like that, right? And these states I told you that allow this dumping in the oceans and all that crap. And the idea that recycling in most places, it's sad but true, these local governments and stuff don't want to, the cost of recycling, they don't want to absorb that. So they just throw it all in the landfill. But you go through the thing, like I watch people people go through rinsing out their bottles and some people pull the paper off a beer bottle or a soda bottle and rinse out their can things and separate all this stuff and put it in this recycling thing. And the truck comes and they put it all in, and then it all gets dumped in the same landfill. It's pathetic. Now, that's not to say everybody, there are places that are seriously into recycling and do it. But a lot of smaller areas, they just can't afford it. You see? In other words, the costs are too high. It's like another thing that I just wanted to talk about, which is interesting, is that, if you have a CME, I know, because I forget to talk about this. I may have talked about it a long time ago. But, particularly this week, we dodged a couple bullets when it came to CMEs. Okay? The sun, if these things would have been just a little bit to one side or something, we could have seen, serious power grid problems, satellites go down, communication satellites, etc. But we literally did dodge, there were 3 of them, I think, within the past week or so, right? One was so powerful it overtook the other one, right? But they still kind of skimmed, they were no direct hits, right? But I mean, they did hit us. And I'd say it was enough to probably heat up the magma more. So we could look forward to some more volcanic eruptions probably and some earthquakes. People don't realize that the sun does that to this planet, especially when this time we have a weakened magnetic field. But one of the things that really gets me is that what people don't understand, and I have this great solar stuff thing where I have this backup power, and that's what's controlling the on-air light. You may not realize that, but, some people might think that's it. See that light go on and off? That's being controlled by a power pack that's chargeable, and you can charge it with a solar panel, but you can also just plug it in. It comes with a plug-in charger and charge it keep it at 100% charged in your house, or you could take it and plug it into your car and charge it in your car. And that'll run your laptops, lights, things like that. And depending on how much you want to spend, it's almost like a $1 per watt or something. I mean, I don't know what, this thing costs $199, and it's maybe it's 240 watts or something like that. But for $500, you can get one that's maybe 600 watts. And there's one more expensive that goes over 1,000. You could probably run your refrigerator on it or something. But anyway, I don't know why everyone doesn't buy one right now, because, when the ice gets on, and we saw this as far down as Texas last year, that when the ice gets on the lines or the tree limbs and they knock over the power, so you get localized grid down situations, and sometimes the power's out for a day to a week, to some places 2 weeks. Well, if you have one of these things, you're going to have, depending on which one you buy, but at the very least, you'll still have be able to charge your smartphone, run your laptop, like I say, depending on how you set it up. Chances are the internet wire, coming in, if you have a dual plug version or put a power strip into it, you can plug in your laptop and your modem, and you might be able to have internet as long as the internet company themselves isn't down. But you know what I mean? This is, or you could run things in your house, basic things, lighting, and that sort, I mean, I have here, let me get rid of No Coward for a second. See? Geez, I look like a major bloated guy with his clothes on. It's weird. Actually, I lost weight this week, which is strange. So I don't know why. Huge. Vanity. It's vanity, man. So, and there is a thing, I was reading some stuff because I was going to put something on about this thing, there's been some talk and some stuff about, speaking of obesity and weight, and getting the thing or whatever, some of the worst cases, or, and there was an article, some study, I think that might have been in the UK too, about, one of the comorbidities being diabetes, obesity, that sort of thing, being some of the worst, right? And I guess heart disease, which comes along with that. But you got to stay healthy. And it's not so much, you can't kill yourself trying to lose weight, but you got to try to eat healthy and, and maybe take a few pounds off if you are overweight. But, don't get yourself into a situation where you're starving yourself so much that your immune system then becomes weak, that kind of thing. I mean, as I was reading this article, but they were trying to make that correlation. And what I'm trying to say, though, is that, this thing hasn't gone away, and it's cold, and I think we're going to have a cold winter in most parts of, the northern latitudes. And, if, these things happen, trees fall on power lines, the power goes out and stuff, and you should be prepared. And I have this stuff. If you go to my website, I've got links to it. And it helps support the show. I might make $1 or $2 if you buy one of those things through me, through my Amazon link. But, if you want to be a prick and just not buy it through me, you still should buy it. I still recommend you get it, but it'd be nice if you bought it through me. But you really should have it as a backup, right? I mean, flashlights are fine. I have the weather radio type of thing on there, which in an emergency switches over to because we had that happen here just like a month or so ago. We got into an emergency situation. That's how yesterday when I showed my roof ceiling that I was repairing, which I said earlier, I did, by the way, put white duct tape up there too and clean that area up. I didn't do any more painting. Another thing I picked up at the Instacart through the Dollar Tree was that Arm & Hammer baking soda, but the box that has, you peel off both sides of the box, and I guess air goes through it, and it's good for a month, that it helps naturally clean the air in your room. So I have that in my bedroom. I spray my sheets down, my comforter down with Lysol, because the cat goes on it. Every morning I do that. Lysol spray disinfectant. Because Lysol isn't an air, even though it's an aerosol, it's not meant for the air. It's meant for contact. Kills germs on contact. And since, if you have a cat or a dog, even if they're dirty animals. I mean, they may look clean, and you could give your dog a bath, and you see cats always washing themselves, but they don't always wash themselves right away. If they're jumping on your sofas or they're jumping on your bed, on your sheet, on your never leave the sheets exposed, but on your blankets or comforter or whatever you have on there, you should spray that with Lysol. I do it daily because my cat's always up there, taking a nap in a ball, rolled up in a ball or something. And at nighttime, it's on the sheet all night long. But, what I'm saying is you just got to take care of yourself, because I it's weird. I feel like I'm fighting off a cold. I'm like, I don't get colds. I just took this, 10 days of amoxicillin, but it's almost like, I don't know if it was better. I'm just so pissed off. I wish this tooth thing I could have been 10 days and haven't had that area already healed by now and never had my microbiome destroyed, right? But instead, it's like I feel like I need to get into some kind of super vitamin, whatever, minerals, health, immune building, antioxidant, anti-inflammatory diet like crazy over the next 3.5 weeks before this surgery. And just in general, because the weather's cold. It's cold. And this thing doesn't seem to be going away, which defies all logic. And as I said, in its defiance of logic, it just kind of just looks more and more like it's man-made, which, some officials have come out and people in Congress have come out and said that. We don't know. Nobody knows. That's the thing. You don't know what you don't know. Right? I don't know. I'm not sitting here saying it, but I don't know. But I've heard senators and congressmen and former intel chiefs and CIA people say it, but I don't know. Like I say, secondhand, I don't like to, I like the nightlife. No, I like to, only repeat something if it's firsthand, That's why I go to the videotape, as they used to say. That's one New York sports guy. The chair keeps falling down. No, that's why I always go to the internet and double check. Now, and not the internet, not those crazy ass sites, but I mean the factual ones, like the nitrogen, oxygen, argon, right? But, it's like going to a dictionary, though I understand that they're also revising words in dictionaries now, which is pretty bizarre. So it's crazy. So anyway, this show has nothing to do with Noel Coward or smoking, and didn't have anything to do with Noel Coward or smoking. And I hope that, I'm not an expert. I just, this is an older smartphone. It doesn't have the current operating system on it. It's not a cell phone. I can use it as a phone through Wi-Fi. My Magic Jack, $39.95 a year is what I pay for phone service in this house. It's the app on that phone and a line on my house. It's not perfect and it cuts out sometimes. But it's $39 as opposed to whatever. I have an Instagram account, which is, I think there's a link below to that. And I'm trying to figure out a way, and I haven't figured it out yet, how to have these shirts and different things up. And it's holiday season, and I think these things might be good gifts, for people. It's not necessarily, but the idea, I got my book up there, Then What? And back here, Codex, right? Game Over comes in hats, hoodies, and all that stuff. So, think about it. Go to my website and click on the links and mess around. You can find those teddy bears, like I said, that if you click on the girl when you get to my website, the one with the shopping bag, you have to scroll down to see her. You'll come to a page and you'll just see these squares, which is the basic artwork. Well, find one of the artworks that you like, click on it, and you'll go to a page. And somewhere on there, there'll be like, you'll have selections, men, women, this, that, the other. And there's something that says accessories. And if you scroll down to other, if it's, you can probably get it on a teddy bear. Otherwise, you can go to greatsolarstuff.com direct. But everything's linked from TonyCaravanLive.com and ROCKFLUX.com. You could buy the book through there and all that stuff. So check it out. Thanks for tuning in. And I'll talk to you tomorrow. Hopefully, I'll still be healthy. Take care. Hope you are healthy as well.